Hello everyone, it's Dreams Made Real 2016 here. I decided to do a little something different today. Every Sunday I'm going to be posting videos and I'm going to call it Storytime Sundays. So if you like it, I'll keep doing it. If not, I won't do it anymore. Just let me know in the comments if you thumbs up the video. I'll know that way too. But this for the first story Sunday, I'm gonna read a story that I actually published called "The Peasant Girl and the Mummy Prince." I published this about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I hope you like it. So here we go. The Peasant Girl and the Mummy Prince. Prologue. December 24th, 1990. It's 11:59 p.m. I open my eyes to an all-white room. The bed I'm lying on is hard as a rock. Somewhere close to my right side, I hear a lot of beeping and humming sounds. Then everything comes rushing back to me. Please let my baby girl be all right. I lift my hand to my stomach and discover to my horror that my stomach is flatter. Just then, a nurse comes into the room. I see you're finally awake, Mrs. Johnson. Can you please tell me where my baby is? Tears start to slide down my cheeks. The nurse smiles and says reassuringly, Your baby is fine, Mrs. Johnson. She's weighing at a healthy weight of 6 pounds and 9 ounces. All of a sudden, the nurse looks hesitant. Unfortunately, Mrs. Johnson, we are investigating a situation. Situation? What kind of situation? What is wrong with my baby? I try to climb out of bed, but I'm so sore I can't move. The nurse comes to my side and starts to stick a needle into my IV. Don't worry, Mrs. Johnson. We don't think it's anything serious. The doctors are just a little concerned that she's shorter than she should be, considering her weight is just about 7 pounds. Now take deep breaths and try to relax for me. I take a couple of deep breaths and try to think positively. My baby is healthy as far as we know, and in just a little while they are going to have the situation remedied, and they're going to bring my little girl in. What else could a woman ask for? So now it's 1:59 a.m. It's 2 hours later. What's wrong, Robert? I must have dozed off without realizing it, for I wake up to my husband's light tugging and telling me to wake up. Oh, Lizzie, thank goodness you woke up. The nurse told me you might not wake up for another half hour yet, but I just couldn't wait till then to tell you the news. At first, I can't make any sense of his words. What news does he have to tell me that can't wait till I'm done resting? What happened, Robert? What happened, Robert? I asked, since it looks like he isn't going to say anything else. Robert looks into my face, and tears start to well up in his eyes. Robert, I yell, if you don't tell me what you have to tell me, I might as well make up for my lost half hour of sleep, since you don't want to talk to me. Lizzie, what I have to say isn't good, so I want you to take a deep breath, and if you need any medicine, you just have to let me know, okay? Now I'm starting to get worried. I try to sit up in the bed, but Robert lifts up his hand to stop me. Robert, for the last time, what in the world is going on? What's wrong with our baby? I shriek. The tears that are slowly falling down Robert's face become a waterfall as soon as I get the words all out. Oh, Lizzie, our baby has mitochondrial disease. The doctors say that she might not be able to live to see her 5th birthday. Yikes. At first, I'm in a total state of shock. After that, I start to cry. The tears are pouring down my face, one after another. I manage to calm myself down, but there are still tears coming down my face. I look up at Robert, and I'm horrified by the look in his eyes. He looks so pale. I wonder if he's going to pass out at any second. I think to myself. Aloud, I say, Robert, why don't you sit down? You look like you're about to pass out. Robert looks at my face for a long period of time. Then he finally says, Lizzie, I'm going to talk to the doctors some more. I'm going to see if there is a treatment that the baby can take. I'll just be down the hall. If you need anything, just push the call button and I'll be here, okay? I just nod. I just nod my head and turn to look at the wall. Robert shuts the door as he walks out of the room. A look on Robert's face as he told me the news keeps playing over and over in my mind. No, it can't be true. The doctor told me I was healthy throughout my entire pregnancy. More tears start to slide down my cheeks. My baby, my poor little baby girl. I slowly start to sit up and put my head in my hands. Why did this have to happen to us? Well, how did this even happen to us? I start sobbing, and then at that moment, a doctor comes in the room with a couple of nurses and Robert on his heels. Nice to see you, Mrs. Johnson. I'm Dr. Ganger, and I'll be attending your daughter's health case. Do you have any questions for me, Mrs. Johnson? I take a deep breath and then another. Yes, actually, I do. What exactly is mitochondrial disease, and how can a child get it this young? Excuse me. Dr. Ganger smiles and says mitochondrial diseases result from failures of mitochondria, specialized compartments present in every cell of the body except red blood cells. Mitochondria are responsible for creating more than 90% of the energy needed by the body to sustain life and support growth. When they fail, less and less energy is generated within the cell. Cell injury and even cell death follow. If this process is repeated throughout the body, whole systems begin to fail, and the life of the person in whom this is happening is severely compromised. How a child can get this so young is by genetics. Any other questions? I pause to consider his question. Then I shake my head to indicate that I have no more questions. Then I pause again as realization sinks in. Actually, Dr. Ganger, I do have one last question to ask. When can I see my baby? Dr. Ganger pauses for a moment and says, Actually, Mrs. Johnson, you can see your baby now. Nurse Joanne, can you be a dear and get Mrs. Johnson her daughter, please? The nurse nods her head in acceptance and leaves the room. About 15 minutes later, the nurse comes into the room with a pink bundle in her arms. Would you like to hold her, Mrs. Johnson? I nod my head yes, and she walks towards me and puts the bundle in my arms. After a while, Robert comes to my side and holds out his arms. I pass the bundle to him, and Robert proceeds to walk back to the chair. Sit down, and I'll start rocking the baby. What do you want to name her, Lizzie? Robert asks quietly while rocking our daughter back and forth smoothly. I ponder over it a little bit and then say we'll name her after her late grandmother, Melina Jolene Johnson. Nurse Joanne smiles and says, That's a pretty name, miss. Also, before I forget, I have some papers for you and your husband to fill out. Whenever you are ready for them, I'll give them to you. Robert and I nod our heads, and then the whole staff leaves the room. We sit there quietly for a while, then Robert lifts his head to look at me. Are you content with Melina's condition, Lizzie? I pause for a moment and then say, I have to be. For the next few years, I'll be grateful for as long as I have Melina. Chapter 1. The Mystery People Down the Street. This is 8 years later. Melina, breakfast is ready. You don't want to miss my famous chocolate chip pancakes, do you? Hurry up before your father eats them all. Melina, where are you? My mother has been saying that since I could walk and talk. Can't she understand that once in a while I would like some alone time? Every time that I don't answer right away, she gets worried and then she has to come looking for me. Excuse me. I take a deep breath and I answer back, I'm up here, Mama, in the spare room, up in the attic. I get up and start heading toward the stairs when Mama peeks her head in the doorway. There you are, Melina. You know, one of these days you are going to give your poor mother a heart attack. I sigh. Oh, Mother, you are always being so dramatic. Well, it's not my fault that you refuse to answer me back when you know it makes me sick with worry. One day you are going to have kids. Then you will know what it's like to be a mother. I sigh again, and I start to go down the stairs. As I walk toward the kitchen, I start to smell Mama's famous pancakes like she said she made. I walk in, and there's Papa sitting in his least favorite chair. Papa, what are you doing? What are you doing sitting in that chair? You usually prefer to sit in the chair at the head of the table. Papa puts the newspaper down and then he takes off his reading glasses. That's weird. Papa never puts the paper down. He usually answers back while still holding the paper, I think to myself. Papa smiles and says, Melina, do you know what day it is? Before I'm given the chance to reply, he recites happy birthday. After he is done, I am left totally speechless. Then Mama makes the comment on how Papa still has his magical voice. I shake my head and say, Oh, Papa, you do this to me every year, ever since I was 3 years old. He smiles at me and says, I know, sweetheart, but you're a special little miracle. You know that, right, Melina? I sigh and say, Yes, I know that, Papa, but it gets kind of old after a while. Then Papa sighs and says in a muted voice, Oh, Melina, if only you could understand how special you really are to us. I finish eating my breakfast, and can't talk. I finish eating my breakfast, and this is such a tongue twister. And as I turn to go back upstairs, Mama calls out to get my attention. What is it, Mama? What do you want? Mama pauses for a breath. Melina, I just thought you would be interested to know that we're getting a new neighbor down the street. His name is Juan. I plan on us meeting him and his family tomorrow. The reason why we can't go over today is because they are celebrating his birthday. I sigh, oh goody, a neighbor shares my birthday. What tops it off is that a boy shares my birthday. Mama comes over to me and gently slaps my cheek. I must have made Mama mad because she only slaps me when she thinks I said something not appropriate. Now, Melina, I don't want to hear you say that again. It's rude and you will not speak in such a way in front of Juan. Do you understand me, young lady? I sigh again and say, Yes, Mama, I understand. Why mustn't I talk about him like that? He is just a boy. For the first time since she called me for breakfast, Mama has a mischievous smile upon her face. Well, let's just say Juan is known for being a famous merchant. I just shake my head and start to head back toward the stairs. While walking up the stairs, I think to myself, geez, he must be a real snob since he's a celebrity. I sigh and finish walking up the steps, walk into my room, and start to prepare for the impact of the next day. The next day. I'm all bundled up in my coat and stockings, waiting by the door for Mama to finish getting ready. I sigh and begin to tap my foot impatiently. Papa doesn't like it when I do that, and he constantly reminds me of the habit. I can't help it. It's like when somebody says you have bad teeth, you can't help having bad teeth. Papa turns his direction. Oh my gosh, I can't read. Papa turns his head in my direction and looks cross at me. I grimace and stop, Geez Louise. I grimace and stop tapping my foot. I'm sorry, Papa, but I just can't help it. Papa sighs usually and says, I know, you keep pointing that out to me, Melina. I always tell you, though, that faults need to be corrected. It's considered rude for a lady to tap her feet. But, Papa, how can I be considered a lady when I just turned 8 yesterday? I whimper. Papa sighs again. You are never too young to learn your manners. Besides, since we can't afford schooling for you, Juan's parents agreed to help school you. So you have to promise me to be on your best behavior, Melina. Alright, real quick, I know there is such a thing as school taxes nowadays, but this is fiction, alright? And we're pretending that these people are poor and they can't afford these taxes. I can't even turn the page now. I nod my head instead of answering. Why would people like Juan be interested in helping people like me? I'm nothing more than a peasant girl from the slums. Chapter 2, The First Meeting, in front of the neighbor's house. We stand in front of the big metal doors, and Mama lifts up a hand to knock on the door. There's the sound of a clink, and the heavy doors open to reveal a woman in a maid's outfit. If you will please follow me, Madame and Monsieur Coquette are expecting to meet you in the main dining room. I follow inside behind Mama, unsure what to expect. When we finally reach our destination, the maid opens two doors and proceeds inside the room. Inside there is a man dressed in a long-sleeved crew-neck sweater and a dark blue jeans. I didn't think I would ever feel so intimidated in such a short amount of time, but this man has scared the pants off of me at first glance. The woman, on the other hand, looks gentler, not as intimidating as her husband. She's wearing a nice denim knee-length skirt and a beige colored blouse. At that moment, the woman smiles slightly and says in a friendly voice, "You must be little Miss Melina. Welcome to our home. Please don't be frightened. My husband isn't as intimidating as he looks." I blink in surprise and whisper, "How do you know my name?" The woman chuckles and says, "Your mother told us all about you. My name is Jocelyn Croquette, and this is my husband, Raymond Croquette. Are you French? Because you sound like it." "Melina Jolyn Johnson, where are your manners?" Mama turns to glare at me. "Please excuse my ill-mannered daughter," Mr. and Mrs. Croquette. Jocelyn and Raymond start to burst out laughing. "It's all right, Mrs. Johnson. That is why your daughter is here, is it not? For us to help educate her? You mean to criticize my family for being peasants?" "I can't know, Melina. We simply want to help. You see, Melina, our son Juan needs some companionship, and since Mrs. Johnson offered you to be his companion, we offered in exchange to help educate you." Yes, there is going to be French words and Spanish words, and if you do recognize them, and I'm not pronouncing them right, I do apologize, but I suck at that kind of stuff, so just future reference. Now, see, Melina, you have nothing to get so insulted about. I didn't tell you the whole story because I didn't want you to object to the idea right away. Since you are acting like an uncivilized human being, I am not sure if you deserve this kind of pampering. I am so confused by this point. At first I thought since they were famous people, they would act like snobs and kick us out at first sight. Now, the more I think about it, the more I'm beginning to suspect that there is something more here that meets the eye. This is foreshadowing, just so you know. I take a deep breath and another until I calm myself down enough to reply. "I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Croquette. It's just that I can't shake the feeling that this seems too good to be true. I'm not all the healthiest, Mrs. Croquette." Up until this point, Raymond has been quiet. But then he stands up from his chair and walks toward me. "We understand, Melina. Your mother explained it all to us yesterday. To be honest, neither is Juan. He has a weird disease that the doctors don't understand. That is why we ask you to be his companion. You see, he is just so ugly looking none of the staff will bear to look at him." Then why are you asking me to be his companion?" Jocelyn stands up and I can't freaking read. Jocelyn stands up also and starts walking toward me. "We're asking you, Melina, because we think you're special. Even though the doctors thought you weren't going to live long, you've proven them wrong. That strength that you have will be able to help lift up Juan's spirits." I ponder over this for a second, then I ask, "May I please see you, Juan?" Jocelyn looks over at Raymond. Raymond shakes his head no, then looks over at me and says, "I'm sorry, Melina, but you can't see him right now because it's too early to see him. I thought the reason why I'm here is to help keep him company. Besides, what do you mean it's too early to see him?" For a moment, Raymond is hesitant. Then he walks over to the chair and sits down. Jocelyn does the same thing. "Melina," Raymond begins, "the reason we don't want you seeing him right away is because it's too bright out right now. You can see him later when it's dark outside." Mama turns to leave and she tells Jocelyn and Raymond that they might as well start the lessons today. They nod their head yes in a form of agreement, and then Jocelyn looks at me. She calls for a maid to enter the room. Nina, could you please escort Miss Melina into her study for lessons? The maid Nina bows her head and leaves the room. I follow her down the hallway. That leads into two different sets of stairs. The right set of stairs leads to Juan's quarters, and the left set of stairs is where your study is, miss. I continue to follow Nina up the left set of stairs. At the end of the stairway, Nina proceeds to go down a long corridor. When we finally reach the right doorway, Nina opens the door and proceeds to go inside. Here's your study room, mademoiselle. Is the room up to your liking, miss? I look around the room and I'm amazed at how much detail they put into one room. It's very lovely, Nina, but tell me, why they put so much detail into one room? Nina smiles a little and says, this is how Madame and Monsieur Croquet wanted the living quarters to look. My eyes open very wide as I look around the room again. They sure must have a lot of money to build a house like this around here. More than what I first figured. I don't say this out loud for fear of insulting Jocelyn and Raymond again in some way. Later that night, after my lessons, Nina escorts me over to Juan's quarters. At first, I wasn't sure if we were going or not, but then it was finally dark enough to suit Raymond and Jocelyn's peace of mind. As we walk toward our destination, I keep wondering why I couldn't see him in broad daylight. It has to do with the reason why none of the maids want to be around him. That much I know, for that's why I'm getting lessons and also why I'm here in the first place. When we reach our destination, which is, as I mentioned before, is Juan's quarters, Nina opens the door and tells me to enter inside. I go inside and I'm surprised to see that the room is in total darkness, except for a little lantern hanging from a long gold-colored pole. Step forward, please, Melina, says a quiet voice. I take a small step, then another, until I reach the spot where Juan wants me. At first, I just stare, but I have no idea why I do, because there is nothing to see except darkness. He must sense me staring at him, because at that moment he smiles a little. Melina, he sighs. I thought I would have to wait forever to finally get a chance to meet you. When Mother and Father told me that I would get the chance to have a friend, I was ecstatic to hear that type of news after all these years. I start to get teary-eyed, but I quickly swipe the tears away. Tears away before he gets a chance to notice. Apparently he does notice, for how else to explain why he says what he says next? It's okay, Melina. I've had to put up with this condition since I was born. There is no reason for you to cry about me. Then he reaches for my hand and starts to rub my fingers in his hands to just try to soothe me. Excuse me. I must admit, it does make me feel better for some reason I can't explain. I'm not crying. I had something in my eye. It is the best excuse that I can think of at that moment. Go figure he doesn't fall for the 6-year-old line. But at least he lets go of my hand. I put my hand behind my back where it still tingles from his touch. I have no idea why, but all of a sudden I get quite dizzy. Juan looks at me with a look of great concern in his eyes. Heck, why shouldn't he be concerned? I might just be going crazy standing near him. I've never felt like this before. But of course, I could be reacting to being in Juan's presence. I've never been so close to a guy before except Juan's father and my father. Then again, I'm only 8 years old and haven't seen much of the world since I was born. I'm sorry, Juan. I just got quite dizzy all of a sudden. Do you have any chairs in here? Juan shakes his head no. I'm sorry, Melina. There is no other furniture in here besides the bed. Just wait a moment for me to move over onto the other side so you can lie down. I don't want to make you move if you're comfortable in the position that you're in, Juan. As I'm speaking, Juan is shaking his head again. It's no trouble. I was getting restless anyways. Please, will you join me on the bed, Melina, so I don't have to worry any longer if you're going to pass out or not. If you're going to pass out on me. Excuse me. I sigh, then crawl onto the bed, making sure I don't make any contact with him, and lie down on the bed. I know that if I make any contact with his skin, I will feel even woozier. Are you feeling okay now, petite? Again, if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry. I'm fine, Juan. Sorry to worry you like that. By the way, how long do you think your parents are going to put up with me? Helping me with my education, I mean. Juan sighs and smiles. I can't frickin' read. It's like a tongue twister, but it's not. Juan sighs and smiles. Melina, why do you ask such things as that? My parents adore you, and they couldn't wait to meet you today, despite your father's appearance. Juan smiles again. Yes, despite my father's appearance. Now, mon cher, it is late, and you must go home before it gets too late. Plus, your parents are probably worried about you by now, don't you think? I nod my head in agreement. Juan, I'm really glad I got a chance to meet you. I'll see you same time tomorrow. Juan nods his head, and as I get up from the bed, he speaks again. Melina, I wanted to ask you how you got mitochondrial disease, if you don't mind me asking. I turn my head and smile a little. Juan, just to let you know, don't ever hesitate to ask me anything. It's not like you're a prince. It's not like you're a prince and you need to ask permission, right? Again, foreshadowing. Juan nods and I continue on. Anyway, to answer your question on how I got mitochondrial disease, it's genetic and my father's side of the gene pool, as you might say. Juan nods and not bleh. Juan nods again. Then I get up and leave the room. I go down the stairs and I'm about to leave when Jocelyn's voice calls my name. Melina, it's too dark outside for you to walk outside by yourself. Please use our coach. I'll get Jamal. She leaves into the direction of the backyard. Later on, she comes back with a man who I assume is my designated driver. Melina, this is Jamal. He will be driving you this evening. I nod and follow Jamal into the back where the coach is. Alright. That'll be enough briefing reading to you all, I guess you'd say. But if you enjoy it and want me to continue reading that story, comment, click the like button, all the other jazz. And I'll see you next week. Bye!